All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Faye Abear, and I'm in Kanice 205, and I'm with Jessica Touchet right here, and she's going to be helping me out on my assignment for the revenue stream for the high school athletic director project. So say hello, Jessica.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
All right. So first off, there's one question at the top that's saying, where's the income coming from for a high school department? So high schools have a variety of sports and everything else. So I believe that most public schools have some type of budget from the state and have, income coming in that way, but a lot of places have fundraisers and booster clubs and alumni associations and all types of ticket sales and stuff to try to get money for each individual sport. So what's your take on revenue streams?
Yeah, I definitely think there is some money that's already allotted to each athletic program. I'm sure they maybe get some from the state, and I would also think that at the parish level, there's some sort of funding that they get to start out with, like a base level. Um, but like you said, there's also your yearly events and fundraisers that people can hold that help add to the budget.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like you were saying in the parish and whatnot, local businesses and people want to support the school and get their name out there. So a lot of times they'll give them money that way so that their name can be put on maybe the field or some type of T-shirt or something that kids will wear. And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody at that age, and even parents, parents are proud to represent their kids and the school that they're going to and the sports that they're playing in. So it makes sense to, have a T-shirt, and then the businesses get to, you know, represent themselves and have their names on the shirts. I also heard of uh, one of my professors was saying he was a principal at a school that one thing he did was with Coca-Cola for in order for them to sell, specifically their drinks, their products at the school and at the games, and no other companies would be able to sell theirs. They would have they bought the school a scoreboard. So I'm sure with bigger corporations too, you can make contracts like that that would help.
awesome. Yeah, definitely. That's something I read on CNBC a while ago. Was saying that one high school football team, they had a broadcasting station that named the entire field for a certain amount of years. I think it was 10 or something like that. That as long as they broadcasted their playoffs and state games and stuff, they gave them enough money to where the stadium was named after them. So that's on a bigger level than most of the places around here. But what you said about the Coke, I mean, that's definitely feasible and could happen around here. And also, if they're like a private school, you have tuition, and private schools, I mean, they still have the same struggles as public schools. So they're going to have stuff other than just tuition. People always fundraise, and a lot of people are willing to give money to a good cause, and if they know where their money's going. So um, I think that's a pretty good start on where some of the people get their money from. Do you have any other ideas on that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just like you said with private schools too, I mean, they still fundraise, and I think people are under the impression that coaches and teachers at private schools get more money, but they don't. It's tuition based, but they still have to have fundraisers. I know of one school that had uh, two yearly events, and it was pretty much like Who Doesn't Love a Festival in Louisiana. So they held a spring and a winter festival, and that way people can come out with all their kids, and they get to play games. It's a good community activity, and it's also bringing in tons of revenue.
Awesome. Yeah. That's good. That's good for all the sports, actually. I mean, and then each smaller sport, they have their individual little fundraisers, like baking and stuff like that, the little bake sales and all that. But yeah, definitely that's a really good idea for the schools. But good, yeah. And then they have the concessions at the games, and other things like that. So I think that's a lot of where the revenue comes for athletic directors and that whole athletic department. Sometimes the athletic director is like a coach or something, but a lot of times they have their own title because they're in charge of so many things. So our second question is, what are the factors under the athletic director's control? So I'm going with this question that they're still talking about all the revenue and everything. So you mentioned in our conversation earlier today that in order to get some of the teams to have a lower amount of people on them, you could do a GPA and make sure that the students are eligible on a academic level as well as athletic abilities and everything. But some of these teams, they can't afford having 30 people on a team when you only have 9 people on a softball team per se, for all the equipment and everything that goes into a sport. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, most teams also have, well, I'll just go off of, where I went to school, you have your practice uniforms, you have, then probably 2 game uniforms, and the more people you have, the more money that's involved in all of that, cleats or just whatever sport it is, you're adding equipment and uniforms and supplies for every player that you add. I like the idea of the GPA because, it kind of sets a standard for all of the sports. And, instead of, it kind of, I think it's a fine line now because, coaches used to be able to say, I'm only taking, 15 players and everybody else is getting cut. And nowadays it's kind of like everybody gets to participate. But I think it would be fair to set a GPA standard, and that would probably cut out a lot of people who think they want to play, but aren't really serious about the sport and academics at the same time.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And also like with uniforms, and at my high school, we obviously, I went to Breaux Bridge High School, and the budget wasn't always that big, so we had the same uniforms for years. And surely that the coaches and the athletic directors weren't in charge of taking the stains out and buying people cleats. If you didn't have cleats, you just wore tennis shoes. But they can do stuff like that where they don't have to pay for everything for the little players. And then for their not academic, I'm sorry, for their athletic banquets, the trophies and awards. Well, my dad's owns a trophy shop, so of course I'd love for people to spend a lot of money at Archie's Trophies, but in reality, they have to set a budget and maybe not get a 14 by 16 plaque and get $7 trophy instead of a $80 trophy. That's one way they kind of have a hold on some of the costs that go into having such a big responsibility. And just busing and stuff like that. Most of the time they have, the budget's already prepared for stuff like that, but not going on a fancy bus, just going on a school bus to their games and stuff like that. What else?
Yeah, I know something when we were talking earlier, you mentioned was, instead of hiring somebody to keep up the grounds, that the coaches could chip in, or even parents could volunteer to keep up the fields, cut the grass, the everyday maintenance. At my school, we had parents, we really didn't have dugouts. It was just kind of like a little piece of fence, and we had parents who donated their time and their money and came and built dugouts. So getting people to volunteer and just maintain the facility itself would probably cut out a lot of expense.
Definitely, definitely. That's really good. Yeah, I agree for sure. And then, some of the games with security and stuff. That's pretty much, they have those budgets in spreadsheets, and business office helps them out with that as well. It's not just the athletic department director doing all that, but there's so many different things that go into it. And ticket prices to games, maybe they could go up 50 cents one year or something like that, and maybe increase their revenue that way. And concessions, instead of, I remember when I was little, we had like 10-cent candy and stuff like that, go up to 75 cents, whatever. But stuff like that is things that the athletic directors can actually control. I don't know. Is there anything else you could think of? I think we hit a lot of the subjects with the budget. Okay. And lastly, we have one other question, and that is, what are external factors? My fiance's here, so I hope he doesn't make too much noise when he gets in here. I thought I was going to have a little quiet day for a minute, but I'm doing something on live right now, so just... Okay, so anyways, I'm sorry. So last question is, what are external factors that cannot be controlled? So I think that, we're talking about fundraisers being so important with money and revenue for the athletic departments. If that spring festival that you're talking about, gets, you have a huge storm and there's power outages and flooding and stuff like that, that's a huge factor. Hopefully you can reschedule, but there's some things that you just can't do, and that would be a huge cost and loss for that athletic department. What else is something that's like external?
Yeah, I think just your everyday economy and inflation. You have, if 1 year you traveled and gas prices were good, you're keeping some money that way. Gas prices skyrocketed this year. They didn't actually this year, but say they did. That's going to cost you more in travel, purchasing equipment. Say you didn't have, you got some balls for the sport 5 years ago, the price probably went up by now, or even if the tax in the town went up. The little things I find sometimes are what chip away at the budget,
Yeah, for sure. I noticed actually today on my Target bill, it was like, used to be like 8% tax, and now it's like 10, plus all the other taxes. So yeah, that's a huge, everything that you said with the inflation and everything, things definitely go up a lot. So yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And that's why I said, with the uniforms and everything, that they're not just going to buy new uniforms every year for the players. So yeah, that's something you can't really control, is prices and stuff like that. What else? I think we hit a whole lot of things in this subject, but I don't know. Is there any other external factors or anything else that you could think of that would make somebody's income?
Yeah. Well, okay, here's something. This literally just hit me. Thinking about the cost of paying referees and umpires.
Oh yeah.
Because I think this ruling happened maybe last year for basketball. My dad's a referee, and I think it possibly went through this year for softball. I'm not too sure about the other sports, but we have to pay officials more money now. So that's something that you can't control. You either pay them or you don't have games. So all of a sudden here you are looking for hundreds of more dollars just to pay to be able to have your games.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. That's a great point. Thank you very much. Awesome. Well, good. Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for your time and for the meeting, and we'll be doing yours in a minute or tomorrow. But
yeah, we'll get it done. It was nice talking and figuring things out with you.
For sure. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has an awesome afternoon. Talk to you
All right,
later.
have a good
All
one.
right. Thanks. You too.
Bye.